Hello, everybody. I'm William Jenkins, educator, author, and educational consultant. This is another one of my videos wherein I am sharing some information that I have with people that I hope can and will use it. I have spent my entire adult life working with young people, helping them to get a good education, to make good choices, and to have great lives. This video is no different. There are young people who sometimes choose to drop out of school with the hope of getting a GED. And they have come to the conclusion that a GED is the equivalent of a high school diploma. Now, even though it is stated that way sometimes, but a GED is not the equivalence of a high school diploma. And I want to use this video to tell you why a GED is inferior to a high school diploma and to encourage you to do everything you can to get your high school education and leave high school with a diploma. Your graduation from high school will say a lot about you, much more than a GED would say, or very different things that a GED would say. When you graduate from high school, it indicates that you have proven that you have been somewhere responsibly every day at a certain time for most of the years of your young life, from kindergarten to 12th grade. When you graduate from high school, it says that by your graduation, it says that you've been able to be under the supervision of, under the instruction of adults for much of your life. It says that you know how to be where you're supposed to be, do what you're supposed to do most of the time, listen to the people that you're supposed to listen to, take orders, keep your mouth shut when you're supposed to, and all of those good things that we think that a young person ought to learn on his or her journey to becoming an adult. And when you go through high school and stick with it long enough to get through it and come to the end and get that diploma, we think that you have done those other things. Students who drop out of high school drop out for all kinds of reasons. And some of those kids drop out, wind up getting GEDs. And when you get a GED, a person doesn't know why you dropped out of high school. And they also know that kids drop out of high school for very, very bad reasons, and sometimes they drop out for good reasons. You may drop out of high school because you were too busy selling drugs or doing other criminal stuff. You may drop out of high school because you couldn't listen to teachers, you couldn't respect authority, couldn't do what you were told. You may drop out of high school because you just couldn't get up and go day after day, and even that's bad. You may drop out of high school because you were spending time in jail. All of those are reasons that you could drop out of high school. You could also drop out of high school because you were taking care of your sick grandmother. You could drop out of high school because you had two little sisters and brothers that were left without a father, and you had to help your mother to take care of them. Those are noble reasons. But the person who encounters you after you dropped out of high school and doesn't know you personally doesn't know about those noble reasons. He just puts you in that whole big class of people who drop out of high school. And when you get a GED, you put yourself in that class. So, if there is any way possible that you can stick with it, stay with the program, do it, and graduate from high school. Get your education and get your diploma. Now, notice I keep saying, I'm not just saying get a diploma. Notice I keep saying get your education and your diploma. Your diploma ought to indicate that you have a certain amount of education. I don't just want you to graduate from high school. I want you to study, be a good student, get an education and a diploma. And I also know, however, that there are some cases, some instances when a person just can't do that, regardless of how much you want it and how hard you try. Sometimes the environment and the forces around you just make it impossible for you to stick with it and get that diploma and education, or education and diploma. Well, if you're one of those persons that can't do that, then I suggest that you get a GED as soon as you can. And if you are forced to get a GED, let me tell you a way that you can lessen the negative impact that that will have on your life outcome. As soon as you can, after you get the GED, go to a college, attend a college, and complete at least 1 year. Or go to a branch of the armed services and complete a tour of duty. Go to a tech school, a trade school, and finish a particular course or trade. If you do one of those things, you will negate the negative impact of the GED. You see, people look at the last institution that you were involved with or in. If you drop out of high school and don't follow that with any other kind of institutional training, they will look at your high school record as the final indicator of who you are and what you are about. But if you go to college, or go to the armed forces, or go to a trade school, or even Job Corps, and finish a year, or finish a tour in the services, then the high school record will not be visited so much anymore. That will not be the defining institution of your life. They will assume, if you have finished these other things, they will assume that whatever you were supposed to learn in high school that would prepare you to be successful in the Army or the Armed Forces or the Navy or the Marines, whatever you were to learn in high school that would prepare you to be successful in college, whatever you were to have learned in high school that would prepare you to be successful in a technical school or Job Corps or any kind of responsible institution thereafter, they will assume you've learned it. And they won't use your high school record and the GED anymore as the defining thing about your life. So what I want you to take from that is this. One, it is better to have the high school education and a diploma. And if there is any way you can get that, get it. If you can't get the high school diploma, at least get a GED and follow up the GED with additional education or additional service in the armed forces, in the Job Corps, in some other kind of institution that will indicate that the things that people expect you to get in high school, to have developed in high school, that you have it. Now, I hope that you will use this information to make good decisions about your life, because I want you to have a good education and a fantastic life. I'm William Jenkins.